Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Hare Krishnas in Britain podcast. This is episode number 46. We're on a bit of a roll at the moment with our episodes. We've had some fantastic episodes the last couple of weeks with devotees, with yes, interesting stories, but also really important topics that need to be talked about. And thank you to those of you that continue to tune in either on Facebook or YouTube on a regular basis and have been now for, it's actually almost 2 years, not 18 months, almost 2 years. Thank you to those of you who put positive comments, who share it, who like it, who love it. That's fantastic. So episode number 46, really pleased to welcome our guest this week, Krishnanama Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. It's great to have you with us. So let's just kind of kick off the conversation. Tell us a bit about you and where you're from.
I'm 52 years old, will be 53 in a month. And I am a Sivarama Swami disciple, originally from Budapest, Hungary. I'm a slow maturing type and currently married third time.
Wow.
And have 4 kids.
I've not been married at all.
Of whom... So, and 3 kids are still under my care and my wife's care. And my eldest son is the father of my 3-year-old granddaughter. They live in Hungary. And we moved to Watford, to the UK 8 years ago in August. After we lost our son, a 3.5 months old baby boy, in our own home in Hungary. And the UK and the devotees especially gave us a really nice shelter and a new home. So we love being here and love the new community we are involved in, which is the Hare Krishna, the Gurukula, the Hare Krishna primary school in Watford.
So how long have you been that's
in a nutshell.
Yeah. How long have you been a devotee? How did you discover the Hare Krishnas or Krishna consciousness?
I joined the movement in 2001 in Hungary, in Budapest, where I first seen devotees doing Harinam in about 89, 90. But that time I only thought they are some weird and noisy people. So I didn't take them seriously. I saw them on the street near where I worked in the downtown. And before I joined, I wanted to visit the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala. But since I had no experience in visiting India, I felt I need to search for any infos about India. And that's how I met devotees. I saw a flyer, a poster about a program organized by devotees. So I visited that. I had a nice time. I had prasadam. I listened to the music and had a little chat with some devotees. And then soon I started regularly to visit the local Govindas in Budapest. And the conversation continued.
Wow.
And since we are a kitchen religion,
yeah,
they catch me through my stomach.
And what is the Govindas like in Budapest?
Well, it changed since. So they moved to a new location and it's much bigger. It's really nice. It's really nice, actually. There are 2 Govindas so far I know it now, and not too far from each other. They have lovely food. They're busy. They're doing well, engaging many devotees. So it's nice.
Yeah. Prasadam is obviously wonderful. When I first joined the Hare Krishnas, or got involved with Krishna consciousness, I was quite surprised because I'd had this perception of Indian religions. It was all about austerity and how you weren't meant to eat a lot and very simple living. And yes, we're promoting simple living and Krishna consciousness, but I thought that the Hare Krishnas were like the Buddhists, like, well, you don't eat a lot. And then I start going to the Hare Krishna temple at Bhaktivedanta Manor, and just there's so much prasadam all the time, so much prasadam, and I actually put on quite a bit of weight. Because of, you know, the endless prasadam. You know, it's karma free, but not calorie free. That's what they don't tell you on the tin. Yeah.
That's true.
You've
Very
been
true.
you yeah, not calorie free. It'd be amazing if Krishna took the calories away as well. It'd be the most well sought after food in the world. Everyone would want it. Be like a dietitian's heaven.
I guess he is not meant to make it easy for us.
No. Life definitely isn't easy. So you've been around the kind of devotees for 20 years. Tell us a bit
Yes.
about, I guess, your kind of spiritual journey over the 20 years. At some point you were given the name Krishnanama at some point. Do you want to tell us a bit about that and how it happened?
Yeah. I'm first initiated by Sivarama Swami. That happened in 2005. When I was married a devotee in Hungary, who I have divorced from later, 7 years later, the magical 7, when people start to struggle. And I couldn't come over it. And since I'm a late maturing person, I'm learning slowly my lessons.
Yeah, well, we're all still learning.
I always lived outside the temple. So I never lived in the temple. I always lived outside, worked, and tried to do some service.
Yeah,
Main donations.
I mean, I kind of realized early on for myself that I didn't want to be a brahmachari. I didn't want to live in the temple. You know, I really don't like the thought of someone else telling me when I have to wake up and how much, you know, when I can eat, and just those things for me. I really struggled being told what to do. So I joined the Hare Krishnas. No, but I just struggle with that kind of someone having a control over me, which yeah, it's interesting because obviously Krishna consciousness is about surrendering to spiritual hierarchies and authorities, which you know, it's been a challenge for me. So let's talk a bit about so we've I've seen recently that you've been quite active online, quite vocal in the whole kind of speaking out against child abuse in ISKCON. Around 15 months ago, I did a special podcast with Sarasvati, who's a massive campaigner in the US, and I think his name Dira Govinda, who was, I think that's his name, and he was the first ever child protection director of the ISKCON Child Protection Office back in the 90s. He wasn't just the first; he created it on a shoestring budget. And I did a special podcast with them about a year and a half ago, and that was very good. And what's been great, I've seen for a number of reasons, is more and more people are involved now, and they're being vocal about it. And certainly, you and I are both in the Vedic Inquirer Facebook group, and I've just seen they've just gone over 3,000 members, which is phenomenal. You know, and these are people from around the world, devotees from around the world, practitioners of Krishna consciousness who are keen on better and greater child protection in ISKCON, which is really good. So my first question on that is, you've been a strong voice for greater child protection in ISKCON. Why is that? Why is this issue so important to you?
Well, before I start to answer to this question, I'd like, only my opinion on today's topic, and any kind of similarity to the audience thoughts, it would be a coincidence, right? um,
yeah.
So the reason, the reason, there are two reasons I feel I can't keep quiet, because the first one is because I want to live in a healthy spiritual society, and that's also the reason I joined. And healthy society for me means taking care of women, children, and elderly. And in Krishna consciousness, we add the cows, of course, and the bulls. That's the very bare basic of a healthy society. And without this basic principle, any society's future is doomed. So, and I'd like to assume most of us who joined did it because we thought it's more than the so-called karmi world and not above it, meaning we don't have to comply with the society's rule and regulation, but we can do whatever we want because we are spiritual. When Sivarama Swami was asked about 15 years ago regarding driving, how devotees, speeding sometimes, how they should behave, he simply said, just follow the highway code. He didn't say you can neglect it and just do whatever you want. I will pay your PCN or your fine, whatever, or the temple will do it, but just follow the highway code, the law, the regulation.
Yeah.
So it's simply outrageous for me that bill is met by the leaders involved, although they could have done something. But that mean mainly the GBC members who are in charge, who were in charge that time, at the first report, the second report, and ever since. And my other reason is that in 2006, my own Guru Maharaj told me to send my son, who is now 29, to send him to the Mayapur Gurukula, when he was clearly very much aware of the issues around it. And I just feel betrayed that he didn't warn me that anything could happen to him like these issues. So it's just weird, and I'm struggling to deal with it, to be honest, because I'm very thankful for him to make it possible to take, the community to develop the Krishna Consciousness Society in Hungary. I was able to meet the devotees, and I heard his lectures and bhajans, and I was able to read the books, Srila Prabhupada books, and so met this knowledge about Krishna, about God. But now I'm really struggling with my feelings, and they are kind of fresh, still fresh. And I'm planning to write to him a letter, but I feel I just need to calm down and try to be respectful in my letter with my questions, and let's see what will happen.
Yeah. So just, I guess, a lot of people watching and viewing will probably know what we're talking about, but we're particularly referring to, I have to admit, I'm not sure what his non-sannyas name was, but he used to be known as Bhaktividya Purna Swami, and he's been stripped of that name. He's been stripped of his sannyas position. But this particular devotee has, people have known he's been guilty for decades, but he's just been officially declared guilty by the ISKCON leadership and stripped of his sannyas position and kicked out of Mayapur for abusing minors, for abusing people for decades, sexual abuse, physical abuse. And I recently saw a video from Chandrasekhar Prabhu, kind of sharing his concerns about how there was a report in 1991, there was a report in 1999, and other reports, and people kept raising their concerns about this former Swami or sannyasi, about his abuse of children. But yet so many people in ISKCON, the authorities turned a blind eye. And a lot of those authorities or people in positions of power are people like Sivarama Swami, maybe Indian Swami as well, and others who are aware of what was going on, or might have been aware of what was going on. And certainly the frustration, as we're recording this today, they've certainly not said anything in the last week or 2 weeks in response to ISKCON's verdict over the future of the former Bhaktividya Purna Swami. And I'm aware, certainly at the moment, that Sivarama Swami is certainly getting a lot of stick for his silence, and also for his, I don't know,
for his letter.
His letter. You hit the nail on the head where he was advocating that this former sannyasi should be given money. My personal view, and I don't often share this on this podcast, I try and be neutral. I often think the sannyasis in ISKCON are living in some kind of cloud cuckoo land. On a number of issues, actually, but this one is just beyond belief. If we were in London, which you are close to, I'm not. If we were in London and it came out that a Catholic priest had been abusing children, firstly, he'd probably be lynched. Secondly, those that defended him would probably, the boys would go around to their house, and you just find that ISKCON is sometimes in this parallel world where it's not in touch with what's happening in reality. And we all have different views on what reality is. And that's the frustrating thing. And I saw recently, if you don't mind me sharing, that you were, I think, blocked from a Sivarama Swami disciples group. Tell us a bit about that and what was happening.
I kind of understand now why I was blocked, and it's been explained by one of the admins, one of my god brothers, elder god brothers, because it's like a Sivarama Swami well-wisher group, disciple group, and I posted that I don't want to listen, to someone who is supporting child abusers, that kind of thing. And that's the reason I've been blocked, because it must have been, whoever read it, it must have disturbed them, and okay, I accept it. I also posted the same thing as a comment to 10, 15 posts in the same group. So it made them somehow more difficult to delete all my comments.
So
it's fine. They deleted it. I don't mind. There will always be devotees. Don't share the views. They are not in the same opinion.
Hello, I'm back. I seem to disappear off the. I have no idea. That's never happened, and we're still recording. So yeah. So we were chat. That's never happened. Maybe someone's listening in and from the authorities and listening to what we're saying. Yeah, that's never happened.
To block it.
That's never happened that is never happened in 46 episodes. So that's fascinating. So
someone maybe trying to hack it.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, let's kind of maybe we should steer away from the conversation about Sivarama Swami, and let's move on towards kind of my next question is around that. What could ISKCON do to create safer environments in its temples, ashrams, and farm communities and schools for children and vulnerable adults? What could it be doing more of to protect people?
Well, it's a complex question. I believe if they really want to prove that they regret what happened for decades, then the guilty ones should resign from their positions, and the new fully transparent leadership should fund the CPO to make sure they are able to delegate representatives, if possible selected from the past victims, actually, to all ISKCON institutes. So they would definitely make sure it wouldn't happen again. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and one of the things that certainly has concerned me, surprised me, is I think the overall funding. This is a global organization, right? A global organization with I think around 9 million members, if you know, including India. The CPO's annual budget is around $9,000. Sorry, $10,000 annual budget, which is pathetic. Yeah. There are thousands, if not millions, of children visiting our temples, our schools, our ashrams in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So I liked those ideas. So the guilty ones should resign, and a new leadership should come forward that properly funds the CPO.
Yes, correct. And it should be also the leadership in the future should be fully transparent, you know.
Yeah. I'm just writing this down. In the future, one of the on another devotee's post recently on social media, his idea was that it's now time for ISKCON to be run by the grihastas or the householders, not the sannyasis anymore. You know, people that have perhaps more in touch with what's happening on the ground.
Yeah, yeah, I heard that voices, and I also think that sannyasis are too much involved in those mundane things, you know, like being a manager. Sannyasis shouldn't be a manager, according to my knowledge. They should help you on your spiritual path, but not running societies, not running these projects, you know. It's just giving marriage advices to devotees. It's been done in Hungary for decades, and it just shouldn't happen.
I always struggled with that one. I struggled with a lot of things, but I struggled with that one. How a sannyasi who may have never been married gives marriage advice. I find that very interesting. They should be giving advice on just kind of spiritual matters, really, and not necessarily kind of, you know, who you should marry. And I think so I kind of agree with that one. So anything else on that one in terms of what ISKCON could be doing to create a more kind of a society where we protect children?
Well, ISKCON is the people, right? The leaders and all the members. So when we say ISKCON, sometimes it sounds for me like it would be one person, you know. So what he can do, or what we And that's why I think many more members joining this group, that ISKCON is not just the leaders. ISKCON is us, all of us. So what will we do? What will they do? We should ask, what will we do to make it better? To make our society better? What we joined? We joined for a reason, for higher purpose. In Krishna, they used to say in Hungary, simple living, higher thinking. So let's make it in practice. Let's make it in practice, in real practice. Higher thinking. First, accept and obey the law. The karmic society's law. And do more. Live even better. Be more, be more than the live in integrity. Show how to live in integrity. Live in a transparent way. Especially if you are a leader. Don't make anyone think that you're hiding something. You are not dealing properly with money, with donations, with anything. So if you are live in a transparent way as a leader, you still might have some, doubters, but at least, you live in integrity and you are untouchable. But it's not happening.
I think I certainly feel that, with what's happened over the last 18 months, 2 years with Lokanath. I'm sorry, I struggle to use the title Swami. I really struggle with that, because Swami means one who controls their senses. Was one of the definitions. But so Lokanath Swami, the former sannyasi who's got I'm not sure what his other name is, who was Bhaktividya Purna Swami. I think what we're seeing now is the start of a kind of a Me Too movement in ISKCON, where the grassroots, the people on the ground, are starting to speak up. And it's been just really interesting the last 7 to 10 days to be an observer and to witness how now lay people like us, normal people like us, are speaking out against the leadership in such a way, because when you join a religious organization like ISKCON, you're kind of seeing that the guru is like right up there, and the guru is almost as good as God, and you should follow the guru around and make him his tea, do his shoelaces, and all those things, and you never question them, and you follow them and you pray to them every day. And to now see people speaking out on social media against, not just against those sannyasis or former sannyasis that have been found guilty of child abuse, but they're now speaking out against, using strong language against the sannyasis who have defended the others. And I mean, I've been around ISKCON since 2004, and I've never seen this before. So I think we're at the start of a kind of a Me Too movement now, where things are coming out. Things are starting to come out of the woodwork, which is a good thing. Which is definitely a good thing.
They should.
They should. Yeah. My next question, because we if anyone's wondering, I did send Krishnanama the questions before. I'm not just coming out with all these big questions. The next one's a bit of a long one, but I really wanted to kind of get to grips with this kind of topic. So ISKCON's record on protecting children from sexual and physical abuse over the decades has been appalling. It's been nothing short of an institutional cover-up. Has ISKCON's ship sunk? Or is it not too late to save Srila Prabhupada's mission?
That's a tough one. Even you sent me before, I could prepare, but it's still a tough one. Honestly, I don't know. And at this point, I also adopted. Because the corruption and the covering up each other might be so deep ingrained in the roots that it's barely imaginable for me how that would be possible, you know. The, the net of those managers, how they build up the leadership, the GBC, especially in Mayapur, in India, where the whole government, police, and they are corrupt. So it's in the Western countries outside of India, many things could be done, but in India itself, I really doubt it. So I really don't know if it can be saved. Even with the best intention, but how will it happen? So how physically devotees going there, 1,000, 10,000 devotees and doing something, or what? So I don't know. It's a bit like how you want to remove a mafia, you know, to change the leaders of the mafia. How you sorry for the word, but I just say it like it's a similar thing. How are you gonna do it? Will they allow you to do it?
I
don't know.
I wasn't around in ISKCON in the 80s because I was too young. But I've read a lot about the 80s and the fall downs of the gurus such as Bhagavan, Jayatirtha. And one of the reactions to that, or the responses to that, was it led to a huge growth in the kind of Ritvik movement. A lot of people became understandably disillusioned with gurus in ISKCON, sannyasis in ISKCON, and they didn't leave Krishna consciousness completely. They just kind of went down a different route or a different angle. And I published a book last year called the Hare Krishnas in Britain, which looks at all the different mats and the sanghas. And one of the things that surprised, so this was 2021. One of the things that surprised me is that even in London, even though it's been a long time since the 80s, there's actually 3 Ritvik groups in London, three Hare Krishna Ritvik groups. So they've always been there, kind of doing their own preaching and their own activities. But I wouldn't be surprised now if we see a growth now in people moving towards those groups. The IRM is still around, the ISKCON revival movement. And I think that might be one of the responses of this just looks like huge institutional failure of ISKCON and its gurus and its leaders to protect children, is that people will just become disillusioned in the guru system again. And a sociologist or someone who studies religions subjectively will say, well, this happens in religious traditions. They go through different kind of phases.
Yeah, a report just came out today regarding all the religions in the UK, how they changed, how the members, especially the Christianity, the people who consider themselves as a Christian, how they dropped, how the number dropped. And I believe that happened because of the scandals, you know.
Yeah.
The same issues. So it can easily happen to ISKCON as well. But me personally, I don't think I will join to any other group or any other organization ever again, because it's just another cul-de-sac, you know. I'm lucky. I'm part of the Guru Parampara now, being initiated by Sivarama Swami. Although I most probably will seek for shiksha from someone else, probably from grihastas in the future, senior grihastas. Yeah, and I just try to practice, do my
Mm.
practices at home with my family, reading, and friends. And that's the main thing. It was so nice. I've been lucky. We've been lucky to be invited to Mother Moksha's birthday, 70th birthday, arranged by devotees just 2 weeks ago. And it was so nice to hear, and it reflects my thoughts as well. She said what she was asked what Krishna consciousness gave her, and what she thinks is most important, and she said the devotee friends she has, the relationships she has with devotees. So I think we don't necessarily need to be a member of an institute if it's managed in this way. And we just can build our relationships, keep them, care about it, practice, do our own practices, discuss the Vedic scriptures, ask questions. And yeah, Bhagavad Gita 1668 says something interesting, right? That sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. It doesn't say that. It's not talking about ISKCON or any institute. So we have, at a certain point, we have to develop our own Krishna consciousness, our relationship with Krishna, without being necessarily a member of a society which is not, which is struggling, struggling and has these issues, you know. There's no wonder that devotees are doubting, devotees are disturbed, and they don't know how to, you know, what to do, because it's just, it shouldn't be this way.
There's a lot of sorry, go ahead.
No, I wouldn't wonder if less and less followers would join, you know, because if they come across with these news, these issues, wow. I heard the senior devotee saying he wouldn't join now. He probably wouldn't join the movement right now.
One of the I'm not going to say the name of the sannyasi.
Oh, that's strange.
No, because I haven't got his permission. But this is interesting comment. He said he said a couple of years ago, this particular sannyasi, he said we're in the Kali Yuga, and it's got another 427,000 years left, and we can believe Srila Prabhupada's prophecy that his books will be the law books for the next 10,000 years. But that doesn't necessarily mean that ISKCON will be around for 10,000 years. You know, I'm not aware that Prabhupada gave a prophecy that or anyone gave a prophecy that ISKCON will be around that long. You know, so I find that interesting, because a lot of people we put faith in the institution when we shouldn't really. So I find that kind of positively shook me. Just because Prabhupada's books will be around for 10,000 years, it doesn't mean that ISKCON will.
Yeah, could easily happen.
Yeah, and the other. Sorry, go ahead.
No, the other day, I just told my wife that I have a feeling that it could happen that ISKCON remains only a nice ideal in the future, with Prabhupada's original intention, its spirit, how it should work, what it should mean. So it might only stay a nice ideal in our hearts. Meanwhile, it's not existing as an institute, as an organization. but with its original intention and purity, and that's what it would mean to connect with other devotees, care about each other, help each other. That could happen. That's what I think, if it's not fixed very soon, these issues.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned just now about the importance of devotee association. I've seen, I don't know, over the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of devotee association around the UK that is very organic and very natural, and it's not necessarily linked to an institution. A lot of devotees, particularly in places like Somerset, that just get together and chant Hare Krishna. And they're not part of any institution. They just chant Hare Krishna, and they read the books of Srila Prabhupada and and other acharyas too. Lots of Gaudiya literature. It's quite beautiful, actually.
Yes, it's simple.
Yeah. Is there anything else you particularly want to share? I mean, I know you kind of prepared some notes. Anything else you want to say or get off your chest? I think it's great, by the way, that you're a strong voice for this, and it's just been so encouraging to see so many people get involved with the important campaign for greater child protection and ISKCON.
Not particular. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. I have so many thoughts in my head that
I have one particular question. I'm not sure if I missed the answer when you said this, but so what did happen in 2006 when Sivarama Swami told you to send your son to Mayapur? Did you send your son there?
I did. I was freshly married for a year. And was a bit struggling with how to take care of him with my new wife. She was living that time in Krishnanama. I lived outside. So how to manage everything. And she was struggling with him to accept him, actually. And probably Sivarama Swami noticed that, and maybe that was one of his reasons to solve the issue. I'm not sure. But yeah, so he asked me to send my son there. And unfortunately, I did. He spent there 2 years. Nothing happened to him. I asked him recently again. He was big enough, so he was 14. That might be one reason. And he's a white boy, Western European, or Eastern European, but European anyway. And as we know, most of the kids who's been abused, they are not from Europe, or most of them are from India or Bengal or Bangladesh. So I'm lucky nothing happened to him, but I wouldn't have sent him down there if I would have been warned by him. That's the thing.
So does your son, even though nothing happened to him, that's just crazy, isn't it? Whenever we talk about this,
We connected again.
Yeah, we have connected again. That's so spooky.
That's weird.
I'm gonna have to look into the spiritual gremlins. So my question was, so your son says nothing happened to him. Does he remember seeing anything kind of unpleasant or untoward there?
No, he just said he learned to lie in the Gurukula. He learned how to lie in the Gurukula. So the kids been covering each other, and which looks like through the parampara, it's coming down to all the way to the kids, how to cover up each other. When kids left the ashram during the night, going out to meet their girlfriends or watching movies, they've been covering up each other. And in the morning, in japa time, they were sleeping, you know. They pretended they put pillows and stuff in the bed, covered with a bed sheet, pretending that someone is sleeping there, and they just play the guards as well.
Okay, I think maybe because of this kind of spiritual gremlins, we might have to kind of draw towards the end of the podcast. This has never happened before in 46 episodes. I don't know what's going on.
Maybe I will end up being in trouble later. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. I mean, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking about these really important issues. And it's kind of really interesting because well, no one knows what the future holds. But in terms of seeing this particular issue with, you know, a potential Me Too movement now happening in ISKCON, it's going to be really interesting to see how it unfolds, I think. Yeah.
Yes, and hopefully stop until some kind of conclusion or correctifying is happening from the leadership. Or yeah, it will be interesting to see how it develops.
Great. Okay. Well,
hope for the best.
Yeah.
Prepare for the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. So Krishnanama, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and just being honest with us. It's not very rare that people are honest, but it's very rare they've been as honest as you, and sharing your kind of real deep concerns about child protection in ISKCON. And I think you've just expressed what a lot of devotees are feeling right now. That kind of frustration and anger and sadness all rolled into one. You know, we
Yes.
put our faith in this movement for the last 20 years, 25 years, and just feel massively let down.
And I must say I'm very lucky because I don't feel depending on the institution so much financially or in any other way, like so many other devotees do, you know. Like in Hungary, so many grihastas are depending on the temple and the society financially because they got paid by the temple. Grihastas, not only brahmacharis doing service, grihastas doing full-time service, they get paid. So if the domino effect starts, then they will all be, you know, unemployed. So okay, anyway, I think if you think our time is over,
yeah, I think I'll just say goodbye to people at home, and then we can have a very quick chat after. So thank you everyone for tuning into this week's edition of the Hare Krishnas in Britain podcast, episode 46. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to put a positive comment, to share it, to like it, to love it, to care for it. And if you're particularly angry as well, we want to hear your views. This is a really important topic of greater child protection in ISKCON, and trying to kind of, you know, come to terms with what appears to be or has been an institutional cover-up for decades, protecting child abusers in ISKCON. So do feel free to share this link, this podcast. And I'll see you all again next week for whomever our guest will be. Thank you. Hare Krishna.